The palace wedding album Meghan Markle just exposed to the world may have revealed something far darker than romance, because people did not just notice who was inside those 24th anniversary photographs, they noticed who vanished from them completely. 8 years after the royal wedding that changed the monarchy forever, Meghan uploaded a carefully curated anniversary carousel to millions of followers, and the internet immediately started counting faces like detectives at a crime scene. 24 photographs, one Elton John appearance, a few scattered Harry moments, but no mother, no royal family, no King Charles, no Queen Elizabeth, no William, no Catherine, no Doria Ragland, the woman who sat alone at St. George's Chapel and cried tears of joy while her daughter married a prince. And suddenly people were no longer looking at the photos, they were looking at the omissions. The silence inside the album became louder than the pictures themselves.
Oh God, when everything is spiraling out of control and only 10 people have turned up to your key speech, when you decide to accidentally post pictures, look at this, of your husband having an argument with the nanny on your wedding day, then what more is there to do than yet another disastrous advertising post making zero sense, but showing that you are these days pretty damn crazy.
The amount of photos that she put just made her really look like kind of an insane narcissist. There were a lot of just her. And that one photo that you were just talking about is such a bad mistake. Well, it's interesting because you would have thought that somebody who had been there on that day, Serena, Oprah, the Clooneys, Priyanka Chopra.
Yes, she's another one.
Even Elton John, who she actually put a picture of him up. The only celebrity that she put a picture of, because of course she wants to tie herself again to Diana. None of them said, "What a great day," or "Wow, what a magical wedding," or "I still think about it." You know, no one said anything. And it is just getting quite sad. And again, you know, you kind of are like, oh girl, knock it off. Like, it's getting very cringy.
What makes this feel explosive is not simply that Meghan posted anniversary pictures. Royals do that. Celebrities do that. But this did not feel nostalgic. It felt surgical. Every image looked selected with almost obsessive precision. The Daily Mail's Alison Boshoff reportedly sat counting every frame because the pattern became impossible to ignore. Meghan alone in hallways. Meghan alone dancing in the Stella McCartney gown. Meghan alone posing in mirrors. Meghan alone preparing for the ceremony. Again and again, the camera returned to one person, Meghan herself, while the people surrounding that historic wedding slowly disappeared from existence like they had been erased from memory. Then people started focusing on Harry, and suddenly even Harry looked strange inside the carousel. Not romantic, not equal. Observers online described him as looking lost, dazed, almost dragged through the photographs rather than standing beside her naturally. One awkward near-kiss image especially triggered conversation because Harry's expression looked chaotic while Meghan appeared completely composed, almost controlling the entire visual narrative with calculated perfection. That single image sent social media spiraling because critics immediately turned it into symbolism. Was this really an anniversary tribute? Or was it Meghan reclaiming ownership over the royal wedding itself?
I think it's really interesting because she's showing all of the celebrity friends, right, who usually, and she proves it, post tributes all the time to other celebrities, right? Like they Oprah or Gayle King. Look at all of the people who they love celebrating, love talking about their big moments.
And then came the real shock. Doria Ragland's disappearance. The one family member who stood by Meghan publicly during the wedding, gone. Completely gone. This is what made royal watchers freeze, because the photographs exist. The official portraits exist. The candid mother-daughter moments exist. Doria was photographed holding Meghan's hand, crying during the ceremony, smiling during the reception, dancing afterward. The public saw those images in 2018. Meghan had full access to them. Yet when she personally built the anniversary carousel for 4.5 million followers, she selected none of them, not one. And suddenly people started asking the question nobody expected to ask on an anniversary post: why would a bride remove her own mother from the memory of her royal wedding? That question spread like wildfire because Meghan herself spent years presenting Doria as her emotional anchor. Netflix specials, interviews, magazine profiles, public branding. Doria was always framed as Meghan's closest relationship. So why did the anniversary album suddenly behave as though Doria never attended the wedding at all? Critics claimed the omission was impossible to dismiss as coincidence, Some called it distancing, others called it image control. But everybody agreed on one thing. When someone curates memories this carefully, every missing face becomes part of the message.
I know it's difficult to be shocked by how low Meghan will go, but I was still shocked by the merching of the wedding for a candle. Honestly, I was. Because, you know, the difference with this, Paula, is that at least with the children, I guess you can say, well, it's up to them now what they do. I mean, this was a wedding paid for by us, the British taxpayer, and paid for by the British royal family. And merching the wedding, to me, I always knew that'd go there eventually. I'm shocked that I've done it so early.
Then attention shifted toward the royal family itself. And this is where the story turned genuinely uncomfortable, because King Charles, then Prince Charles, literally stepped in to walk Meghan down part of the aisle after Thomas Markle's collapse before the wedding. At the time, royal historians called it one of the monarchy's greatest gestures of acceptance toward an outsider entering the institution. The future king publicly protected her during the most watched wedding on earth, yet in Meghan's anniversary version of events, he vanished entirely. Queen Elizabeth vanished too, the same queen who approved the Sussex title that morning. Gone. Prince William, Harry's best man, gone. Princess Catherine, gone. Prince George and Princess Charlotte, children who literally participated in the ceremony, gone. It was as if Meghan had reconstructed the royal wedding into a completely different event where the monarchy itself barely existed. And that was the moment commentators started using the word censorship, because this no longer looked accidental. It looked intentional. It looked like Meghan was rewriting the emotional memory of the wedding by stripping away everyone tied to the institution she later attacked publicly. Royal commentators argued the carousel exposed something deeper. Not nostalgia, but resentment. A selective rewriting of history where Meghan preserved only the parts centered around herself and erased the relationships that collapsed afterward. Even the celebrity guest list exposed cracks. Elton John appears briefly, but according to reporting discussed in the transcript, insiders insist Elton's connection was always stronger with Harry than Meghan. Meanwhile, the Clooneys reportedly drifted back toward King Charles. Oprah disappeared after the explosive interview era cooled. David and Victoria Beckham allegedly distanced themselves. Serena Williams, once considered Meghan's strongest ally, reportedly grew quieter too. Suddenly, the anniversary album started looking less like a celebration and more like an inventory of who was left standing beside the Sussex brand 8 years later. And then the story became even more bizarre because old footage of Prince Harry resurfaced from a podcast interview months earlier. In that interview, Harry warned about social media dangers, describing platforms as toxic forces harming children's minds. He spoke about being cautious, hesitant, protective, yet here was Meghan using social media itself as a massive emotional billboard, posting intimate anniversary material to millions while simultaneously including clips involving their children and deeply personal family symbolism. Critics immediately spotted the contradiction. Harry publicly warns against social media culture while Meghan professionally thrives on it. Those two realities suddenly looked impossible to reconcile. What makes this anniversary story even darker is that while Meghan's carousel was exploding online, the royal family itself appeared to be quietly moving on without the Sussexes entirely. That timing mattered, because only days after this flood of wedding nostalgia hit Instagram, reports started surfacing about Peter Phillips's upcoming wedding, a royal family gathering where King Charles, Queen Camilla, William, Catherine, Princess Beatrice, and Princess Eugenie were all reportedly expected to appear. And then came the detail that hit royal watchers like a slap in the face. Harry and Meghan were allegedly nowhere near the guest list. Suddenly, Meghan's emotional anniversary dump no longer looked random. Critics started framing it as something else entirely, a desperate attempt to remind the world of the royal connection at the exact moment the monarchy itself seemed comfortable continuing without them. That is what made the atmosphere around the carousel feel almost haunting. 8 years ago, Meghan entered the monarchy surrounded by celebrities, billionaires, future kings, global cameras, and public fascination. Now people were staring at an anniversary album where almost every image looked isolated. Meghan alone in corridors, Meghan alone posing, Meghan alone dancing. Even when Harry appeared, the chemistry people expected to see felt strangely tense to some viewers, almost performative. It was not warmth people focused on, it was control. Every image looked arranged to project a narrative instead of capturing spontaneous joy. And once audiences started noticing that pattern, they could not stop seeing seeing it. Then came the comments from critics claiming the carousel exposed a marriage operating like a business brand instead of a private relationship. Because this was not simply a wife posting wedding memories to family and friends, this was content, monetized attention, public engagement, a carefully manufactured emotional campaign pushed to millions of followers. Even the bronze penguin gift suddenly became symbolic. Meghan explained it represented lifelong partnership because penguins stay together forever. But online critics immediately twisted it into something darker, saying the couple now communicated their marriage almost entirely through visual branding and symbolic storytelling instead of authentic connection. And then people started revisiting the celebrities who once crowded around the Sussexes. Oprah, George Clooney, Amal Clooney, David Beckham, Victoria Beckham, Serena Williams. Names that once represented Hollywood power surrounding the couple now appeared increasingly distant. Royal commentators argued the anniversary carousel accidentally revealed that shrinking social circle because Meghan had almost nobody left to feature except herself. Elton John's tiny appearance became oddly important because he was practically the only recognizable outside figure remaining in the entire visual story. That absence of allies screamed louder than any caption she could have written. But the moment that really shook viewers came near the end of the transcript when the focus returned to Harry himself. Because Harry's own words from the podcast interview suddenly sounded almost tragic in hindsight. He talked cautiously about protecting children from social media manipulation, describing platforms as dangerous spaces run by people profiting off attention and emotional exploitation. Yet only months later, his wife publicly uploaded intimate family-themed anniversary content to millions. Their children's voices appeared in clips. Their relationship became content again. Their private milestones became global spectacle again. And critics immediately started asking whether Harry truly controls anything inside the Sussex media machine anymore, or whether he simply follows wherever Meghan's branding strategy leads. That question exploded because the contrast looked brutal. The royal family, for all its flaws, rarely sells emotional intimacy directly to the public. They release carefully limited photographs, controlled appearances, occasional family moments. But Meghan's carousel felt different. It felt relentless, almost like every emotional memory had become part of an ongoing commercial narrative. And once viewers noticed that, even innocent details started feeling suspicious. Why post this now? Why erase certain people? Why focus so heavily on herself? Why revisit the wedding so intensely if the future is supposedly brighter than ever? By the end of the story, the anniversary album no longer looked romantic at all. It looked like evidence from a collapsing empire desperately trying to preserve its most glamorous memory before the audience fully walks away. 24 photographs became 24 clues. Missing faces became louder than present ones. The royal family moved forward while Meghan seemed frozen inside the past, endlessly replaying the day she entered the monarchy because it may still represent the peak of the Sussex narrative itself. That is the uncomfortable suspicion hanging over the entire carousel now. And maybe that is why people cannot stop talking about it. Because beneath the gowns, the kisses, the polished black and white edits, and the anniversary captions, viewers sensed something colder underneath. Loneliness. A woman rewriting history frame by frame. A prince warning about social media while living inside it. A royal wedding album stripped of almost everyone connected to the actual royal family. And somewhere inside those 24 photographs, hidden between the smiles and staged memories, people believe the real state of Harry and Meghan's world accidentally revealed itself.